Doesn't seem to be a listing for George Banks here.
Mary Poppins Returns. The concept seems like an unnecessary sequel. The execution? A really unnecessary sequel. With evil bankers kidnapping wolves, chase scenes, a complete lack of focus in both character and story, it was a mess. But it's one thing to criticize, it's another to offer a solution. That will never get made, but it's still fun to theorize how a piece of art could be made better. And that's part of the fun of being an artist, always trying to find ways to improve and make an even bigger impact. Well, the original Mary Poppins left a big impact on me, and I think I owe it to such a wonderful film to try and fix this emotionally lacking sequel. Now, par for how this show works, I do need some rules and guidelines. The actors must stay the same, the very general idea and plot must be the same, and as an extra bonus, the songs must be the same. Which I don't mind, as I love the songs and feel they deserve a better movie to go with it. With that said, here's how I would fix Mary Poppins Returns. After the opening credits with those cool paintings, we get straight to the point and see grown-up Michael being told by the bank that his house is going to be repossessed, unless he can get them the money in 5 days. Michael explains how his wife who passed away last year handled all the finances and how he hasn't had a job in a year due to grief. He is clearly a very lost man. The bank is sympathetic but still firm that unless payment is received, he'll lose his home. This not only reduces 10 minutes of boring bank talk to just a few minutes, but it sets up right away that this time around there's bigger threats and consequences. And honestly, that's about as much of the bank as we see. No evil bad guy throwing information in the fire, no symbolic wolves with watches that somehow mean don't trust them. This Mary Poppins, like the last one, has no villain. Michael walks home slowly in a daze. Across the street, we see Jack lighting a street lamp. He sees the devastated look on Michael's face and, though he doesn't know him, decides to light the lamps behind him while cheerfully singing the lovely London Sky song. This song now has a purpose. It's trying to show that even in the darkest times, there is light if you go searching for it. Michael looks up only once or twice, even noticing that he's singing, mostly remaining in a deep depression as he walks home. As the song wraps up, a water balloon is dropped on a well-dressed lady with a dog. The classic upscale stereotype. She looks up and sees Michael's daughter, Annabelle, snickering in a tree with a box of water balloons next to her. This prank can be replaced with something else. I'm not even sure if water balloons were a thing back then, but somehow she's annoying people. And oh yeah, Annabelle is the only kid. Keep it simple. There's no reason to have more than one. It's just unneeded characters you have to develop, taking time away from the focus. I chose the girl because the boy got a hint more attention in the original, but honestly, the character is pretty gender neutral, so if for some reason it had to be changed to a boy, that could be done too. However, unlike the other Poppins movies, this kid is a legit brat. Not like, oh, they chased after a kite, what nightmares, I mean like Lilo from Lilo and Stitch brat. She's always attacking people, always playing pranks, always making up insults, and worst of all, she's good at it. Michael sees what Annabelle did and calmly expresses his disappointment. The woman is furious that he isn't harsher on her as Annabelle makes faces at her while Michael does very little about it. The comedy can really be played up here on how rebellious yet clearly intelligent Annabelle is with her pranks and insults. "Hey lady," she says, "what has 10 legs, 5 eyes, and sharp teeth?" The lady, still dumbfounded, begrudgingly asks, "What? I don't know, what?" "Hey, if you don't know what's in your hair, how should I know?" The lady freaks out, thinking there's something in her hair. Michael remains a pushover, hardly doing anything during the scene. Michael takes Annabelle home as she keeps cracking inappropriate jokes. Jane meets him there as Michael explains to her the bad news. As they try to figure out what to do, Annabelle climbs the bookcase and jumps off it, forcing Michael to catch her. He gets annoyed, asking her why she does things like this. "Mom would let me do it," she says. This throws Michael off, and she knows this throws Michael off. "No, she wouldn't," he responds. "Yes, she would! Yes, she would!" she screams over and over. "Go to your room! You're... He stutters, clearly having no idea how to punish her. "You're not to have dinner tonight!" Jane gives him a look as if that's too harsh. Annabelle gets angry and stomps up the stairs. "Mom definitely wouldn't do that," she yells. "You don't know what she would do," Michael screams back. "You're right, and I never will!" She slams the door. Michael is shaken for obvious reasons. Jane goes upstairs and talks to Annabelle, who's pouting in bed. "Your father loves you very much," she tells her. "He's going through a lot right now." Annabelle bitterly asks, "Just him?" Michael goes to the attic to look at his wife's belongings, including a collection of songs on sheet music with both their names on it. He sings the conversation song pretty similar to how it was in the film. It was a pretty good scene, so I wouldn't change much about it. Also like in the film, Jane and him search through the attic, but not for any lost proof of shares, but rather things they can sell to possibly raise money to save the house. While looking, Michael comes across the kite. "Look at this rubbish," he says. "Michael, how could you?" Jane responds. "Don't you remember all the fun we had with this?" "But it's ruined," Michael says. "It's not ruined," Jane responds. "It just needs some mending." While Jane goes to search for other items, Michael tosses the kite out the window, as if his childhood dreams have betrayed him. We see Annabelle sneak out of her room with a giant box of matches and bottles filled with God knows what. We have no idea what she's going to do with them. She turns and sees the kite on the ground and goes to grab the string to pull it closer. The kite flies into the air, dragging her with it, similar to what happened to the boy in the movie, except it drags her in a much more wild and over-the-top manner, having more fun with the idea. Like before, Jack sees her and tries to pull her back to the ground when, lo and behold, Mary Poppins grabs the kite and floats down to the ground. A lot of this is like in the film, with Poppins saying hi to Jack, taking Annabelle back to Michael, and Poppins offering her services as a nanny. The only difference is Annabelle doesn't want a nanny, and every time she tries throwing a witty insult at her, Mary always has a clever one right back. "Hey Mary," she taunts, "what has 3 mouths, 2 noses?" Mary interrupts her by saying, "Annabelle, wipe that spider off your shoulder." "Ah!" Annabelle screams, batting at her shoulder. "What? There's nothing there!" Innocent mistake. This leads to the bathtub scene after Jane gets filthy chasing after the kite. Poppins sings this song, Can You Imagine That? And again, it's pretty close to the film. Except Annabelle isn't delighted, she's freaked out. Her cynical bratty mind can't accept the magic going on around her, and she constantly looks confused, horrified, and usually tries to cling on to something for dear life. Poppins, on the other hand, enjoys watching Annabelle overreact, knowing the situation is totally under control. Afterwards, Annabelle tries tattling on Mary, explaining the strange adventure she just took her on. But of course, Mary denies it, and the father thinks she's just pretending. The following day, Michael tries selling a bunch of their belongings in the park, trying to raise money, letting out an occasional, "Annabelle, stay close now." Annabelle, of course, is not doing as she's told, and once again tries dropping balloons on people, until she sees Mary checking her appearance in a compact. Annabelle tries dropping a balloon on Mary's noggin, but somehow it drops on Annabelle's head instead. She tries it again, and once more, it lands on her own head, like she's somehow dropping it on herself. Mary smiles and closes her compact, pretending she doesn't notice. "Annabelle, what on earth did you do to yourself?" Mary asks. Annabelle has no answer. "What are you even covered in?" Mary continues. "Do we have to take another bath?" "No!" Annabelle quickly answers. "Yes, good call," Mary says. "You look drenched enough already." Annabelle sneers at her. Jane, meanwhile, tells Michael that she may have found him a job as a newsie. Now again, this can honestly be any low-level job on the street at the time, but I'm just going with this one. Jane tells him where to go to apply while she takes over selling the belongings. The following day, while Michael works, Jane brings in the ceramic bowl to show Annabelle, saying they might be able to sell it for enough money for what they need. Like in the movie, Annabelle breaks the bowl and Poppins takes herself, Annabelle, and Jack inside the design singing the Royal Dalton Music Hall. Here though, it doesn't just stop there. Jack asks Mary for another song, but she insists no other works of art in the room want to hear her sing it, referring to the characters in the ceramic bowl. Jack gives a whistle and suddenly all the paintings, all the books, even the drawings Annabelle doodles on the ground come to life and come forward to her. Mary and Jack then sing A Cover Is Not the Book while actually jumping into books, as well as paintings and drawings all around the room. Every time they jump into a different piece of art, they take on whatever style it has. Line-drawn illustration, abstract painting, watercolors. You can have a ton of fun with this. That way, you're not just doing the simple inside the drawing bit again, you're going into a bunch of different art styles all over the room, upping the creativity a lot more. And yeah, no bullshit chase scenes with dumbass wolves. The books all applaud by simply opening and closing their covers, as Annabelle is amazed and delighted. Afterwards, Michael comes home from work and is exhausted, as he had to work longer hours to try and make more money to save the house. Annabelle tries telling both Jane and Michael the great adventure she went on, but they ignore her, trying to figure out if what they're doing will be enough to save the house. Annabelle grabs a glass and tosses it to the ground, getting their attention. "You never listen to me," she mutters quietly. She goes upstairs and locks herself in her room. Michael tries to talk to her through the door, but she clearly doesn't want to listen to him. Later in the night, Mary knocks on her door saying she needs to get the linens from her room. Annabelle lets her in, saying, "I don't want to talk about it." "No, I wasn't aware I was asking for it," Mary responds. "I'm only here for the linens." As Mary's silence fills the room, Annabelle slowly starts to talk about how she used to get along with her dad a lot more when her mom was alive. This leads to Mary singing Where the Lost Things Go, this time with a much greater understanding of how the mother's death affected the family as a whole. It isn't just briefly talked about, it's felt through all of their actions. The following morning, Annabelle finds the sheet music with the songs on it that Michael left out. She asks Mary if she could read the music for her, remembering how her mom used to really enjoy singing. Mary starts to sing a slower tempo version of There's No Place to Go But Up. However, she doesn't get very far and stops, saying that the song isn't finished. Annabelle really likes the song she began though and suggests the idea that maybe they finish it. This leads to a rendition of the song being sung as they put it together, with the piano playing itself, musical notes and lyrics flying around the room, and a pen writing it all down as they sing. Well, great work often writes itself, Mary jokes. Sometimes the song can even stop as they try to think of a rhyme, similar to Part of Your World when Ariel tries to think of what certain objects are called. Once they complete the song though, Annabelle accidentally spills ink all over it. "Oh no!" Annabelle screams, "Now it's lost forever!" Mary ponders. "I think I know someone who can help." Mary and Annabelle then go to her cousin who asks if she can think of a way to fix the ink all over the song. This is where the Turning Turtle song is sung about trying to find an upside down way of looking at things to fix the problem. This time though, the room isn't just upside down, it keeps spinning. Sideways, upways, downways. Build a whole room that rotates. It's been done a million times in the past and you're Disney, you can afford it. Really go all out taking the I love to laugh scenario and pushing it to the next level. While upside down, Annabelle notices something on the back of the song and gets an idea. She rushes back home with Mary and notices the pen left an indent on the paper under the one it was writing on, so they can make out the notes and the lyrics that were originally written down. They transcribe it to another sheet of paper and once again, the song lives. Annabelle rushes to her dad to tell her the good idea she had, but notices the bank people are at the front door shaking their heads at Michael, who is attempting to hand them a small bit of money. Michael walks into the living room and starts throwing what few belongings they have left and drops to his knees in tears. Annabelle starts crying too. She runs up to her room and sneaks out the window. She runs to the park where she used to drop balloons on people and realizes she has no idea where she's going. She sits down in the cold, dark night all curled up. Jack discovers her as he's lighting the lamps and she tells him that she's running away. "He's too angry to have me there," she says. "I'll only make things worse. I always make things worse." Some of Jack's friends gather around her and try to cheer her up. This results in Triple Light Fantastic, but this time the lamplighters start lighting the stars, using the sticks to move them around and make pictures out of them. Mary Poppins eventually flies in looking for Annabelle and they encourage her to play along. She of course does, lifting everybody into the stars where they swing on the images, throw constellations like snowballs, and have a magically creative time. Again, it's like taking Step in Time to the stars, doing something similar but still different, upping the game. After calming down, Annabelle realizes she should go back home and act more grown up. Poppins takes her home as Michael tries apologizing to her, but Annabelle interrupts apologizing to him. They both hug and realize they'd be truly lost without one another. Cut to them packing all their belongings like in the movie, getting ready to live at Jane's house. Poppins makes the sad announcement that, as she has no house to nanny in, she can no longer be under Michael's employment. Don't worry, this isn't as bad as you think. Annabelle looks shocked as Mary apologizes, saying she must find employment elsewhere. She then approaches Jane, standing right next to Michael, saying, "I present my services as nanny for the new members of your house." Jane shrugs, "You're hired." A little bit of levity in an otherwise very heavy scene. You see, unlike the dumbass climax where they have to stop the big bad bang from taking the house, here there's consequences for their actions, and they actually do lose the house. Yeah, no going backsies. When Bambi's mom dies, she stays dead. When the toys leave Andy, they stay gone. And when a family slips so far they can't pay for a house, they lose the house. Their slow ride away from the house to Jane's home would probably mimic Mr. Banks walking to his job to get fired. Similar, but still very different. Both represent the lowest moment for our characters. Once they get to Jane's house, Michael and Annabelle share a room. He tries to hold back tears, but finds he's unable to. Annabelle finally tries to take some responsibility and takes on the role as parent. She pulls out the song that she had folded up in her pocket and starts singing in a slow, calm tempo, "There's No Place to Go But Up." Michael recognizes the song and admits it was something he was working on with her mother, but it was never finished because she passed away. "Well," Annabelle says, "I guess we all finished it." Michael smiles and gives her a hug. "So," he asks, "how does it go again?" They both start softly singing the song together, as it dissolves to the next day, seeing Michael selling papers. He seems glum until Annabelle approaches him and starts singing the song There's No Place to Go But Up again, only this time in its more upbeat tempo. Michael starts singing along with her, and the more he sings, the happier he gets. As days go by at the job, he continues to sing the song, as if the louder he sings it, the happier he becomes. Often Annabelle will either be alongside him or be coming home from school and join him. It turns out both the song and his energy are incredibly contagious. Soon everybody who gets a paper from him starts singing it too. Over the passing days, everybody knows the song, is singing it constantly, and it just gets grander and grander. Both Annabelle and Michael's attitudes have changed, as they seem to have no physical possessions, but they still have each other. Suddenly, an old talent scout passes by them, played by, who else? Dick Van Dyke. He says he's been hearing that song all over town, and everybody said it was coming from a newsie in these parts. The scout explains that he used to be a song and dance man himself, and also got started in the streets. But now, he looks for great talent wherever he can find it. I don't want to necessarily cement that this is Bert. It's left a little vague, so you can draw your own conclusion. It either can be him, or maybe it's not him. I don't even know if the years would add up, so maybe it's just Dick Van Dyke as a talent scout. Regardless, he asks if there's any more songs like that, and Michael assures him that there's tons. The scout asks Michael if they can have a sit down at his office tomorrow and see if they can figure out something they can do with those tons of songs. Now, it's important that we never see the actual meeting happen or figure out if he does this for a living from now on. It's more about his change of attitude, working hard, and being creative wherever he can that can lead you in the right direction. After that, we do like the movie where Angela Lansbury starts handing out balloons, everybody takes them and floats in the air, and the one only change here is Poppins' exit. We see Jack flying the torn up kite as Mary walks up beside him smiling. Once again, he says, you made something beautiful out of leftover ruins. Mary smirks, oh, it was never ruined. It just needed to be mended. She opens her umbrella and flies into the sky as Michael and Annabelle continue to laugh. So, that's how I would mend Mary Poppins Returns. Is it as good as the original Mary Poppins? Of course not, but nothing can top that. But it does up everything a bit more. The threat is much more threatening, the challenges are much more challenging, the lessons are much more aggressive, but still coming back to a gentle kindness and grand creativity. In my opinion, this doesn't quite copy the original as much as follow a particular style. The James Bond movies don't usually have the exact same plot, but there's a definite way they tell their stories that you associate as a James Bond movie. This is the same idea. It adds more drama and conflict than the first film, but it's mature in its handling of it while innocent and imaginative in its more pleasant moments. I'm sure there's gonna be people who miss the mean, vicious bankers, the maniacal laughing wolves, and the action-packed climax, but if you're looking for something more mature, subtle, and carries a lot of weight to it, you know, like a Mary Poppins movie, I think this one's a little closer. Is it practically perfect? No, but I think it's a decent follow-up. But maybe I'm wrong, maybe this is too heavy and a simple bad guy was what logically lied ahead for these movies. Do you think this fixes the problems? If not, how would you fix it up? What would your version of Mary Poppins Returns be like? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for listening to me ramble about a sequel to one of my favorite films. And if there's anything that didn't make sense to you, remember, I don't have to explain anything.